This was 4 years ago, but I still find myself thinking about it every now and again. It was storming pretty bad this night. I worked as an Uber driver, so on nights like these, it often gets really slow. Sometimes I don't even get a single pickup. Regardless, I always stayed out and waited, either driving around listening to music or sitting in an empty parking lot and watching YouTube on my phone. Even if I'd only get a few pickups, it's still worth the extra money that I wouldn't have made otherwise. This night was as expected. Nobody was out or going anywhere with a storm like this. For the first while, I stayed in a parking lot, sitting on my phone and listening to the storm run through the town. After an hour, I went and drove through to get some food, then went back to the parking lot and waited some more. Eventually, I got the notification that someone requested a pickup. I clicked on it, and it said they were 25 minutes from me, and they needed to be dropped off another 20 minutes away from where they were. Usually when this happens, it's because no other Uber drivers are working, so I'll be the closest available driver, even though I'm far away. I had nothing better to do this night, though. I accepted it and started heading over to them. They had placed a pinpoint location of where to pick them up at. The drive there felt like it took forever. Maybe it was the storm outside, or just the fact that nobody else was on the road. At certain points, I even almost forgot I was going to pick someone up, and it felt more like I was just driving aimlessly. It didn't help that the road it was taking me down was going out in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm not even sure I've ever been that far in that direction, because nothing was out there. Finally, after just about 35 minutes, I made it to the pinpointed location on the map. It was at the corner of two roads, but two roads in the middle of literally nothing. Empty fields of trees on either side of me, and more importantly, nobody was there. I confirmed on the app that I'd arrived at the location, then just sat in my car and looked around, wondering what the hell they were doing way out here with a storm overhead. After a minute of looking around, I looked down at my phone again and started texting them to see where they were. Just then, I saw someone in my side mirror coming up behind my car. They opened the door and got in. I had no idea where they even came from. I never saw them on the road, or even out by all the trees. The man was absolutely drenched in rain, though, and had a disturbed, almost angry look. "You ordered the Uber," I said, and he responded by stating my first name, which confirmed he was the right guy. I started driving. A few minutes went by, and something about him felt off. First of all, he was sitting in the middle of the back seats, so he was right in view of my mirror every time I looked back. And he also just had this really uneasy vibe, like he was up to something. I really wanted to ask what brought him out here, and why he was out in the pouring rain in the middle of nowhere, but I also didn't want to cause any trouble. As we got further out into what only looked to be even more uninhabited areas, I thought it best to ask and maybe get an answer that would make me feel better. "Hey, so what brings you out here anyway? I mean, with the storm and all," I said in as friendly a manner as possible. I looked at him in the mirror. His eyes darted away from mine. He looked like he was going to say something, though, but then he didn't. He completely ignored the conversation and looked really suspicious while doing so. That didn't make me feel good at all. Even worse, the guy seemed to get antsy now, looking around more and keeping an eye on me in the mirror. Having to focus on the road with the rain pouring on the windshield, it was really unnerving not being able to see what he was up to behind me. But then he suddenly spoke. "Drop me off here." Confused, I started to ask if he was sure, but he cut me off, repeating himself. "Drop me off here." He demanded it. Something was clearly wrong, and I wanted no part of it. I did as he said, pulling over to the side of the road. He moved toward the door to leave, but I caught his eyes happen to glance at my phone, which was sitting on the center console with the Uber app open. He put his hand on the door, but hesitated. After a brief pause, he glanced back at my phone, then pulled his own phone out and checked it for something. Somehow, in that moment, I knew exactly what was going through his head. He'd been reminded that the app had his full name and everything, and so whatever he was up to, and that I was clearly suspicious about, would be linked directly back to him. I knew it the second I saw his eyes look at my phone, the realization setting into him. Don't worry. I'll cancel the ride from my end. It won't charge you, I said, hoping to redirect his thoughts and in a way fake that I wasn't suspicious of anything, and that by canceling it, maybe he'd think his info would be deleted or something. He glared at me, his eyes still angry and dead. And after another few seconds of hesitation, he left out the door. He walked out into the storm and was hidden by the fog and rain within seconds. I drove away immediately before he could change his mind. Even though I had basically no evidence that this guy was up to anything, I still quickly reported his behavior to the police. You just never know. Several days went by with nothing, until I got a really unfortunate call. Someone went missing that night, last seen near the forest that was just off the road I'd picked the man up from. They called for more information on what happened that night, but after giving them everything I could, they didn't find him or anything else. Unfortunately, with the storm, any tracks or evidence was likely washed away and gone by the time any searches could be made. They never found the missing person or the man I picked up. I was the last known person to encounter him. I think I'm really lucky that I didn't go missing that night as well.